welcome to my channel. I'm SK. I've been a DJ for 15 years, playing mainly to start with trance music, then quite a lot of breakbeat, an awful lot of house music, and more recently I play ghetto funk. You can check me out on SoundCloud. I will leave my SoundCloud link in the description at the bottom. I've decided to start a YouTube channel for many different reasons, but one of them is for discussion topics like the video we're going to have today. And also I want to do video mixes and also show you how I DJ and how I do things, because I keep it on a very basic level, which would get anybody from a beginner level to quite a decent standard very, very quickly. Okay, so I'm not going to ramble on too much about myself, but let's start today's topic. So today's discussion topic is going to be quite a taboo subject for some people, and that's the sync button. Okay, now people's main issues against the sync button tend to be that it's cheating. I've got a bit of software loaded up, and I'm going to go through a few things shortly. But yeah, a lot of people's opinions is that it's cheating. Do I think it's cheating? I think it's cheating as much as some of the other functions and basic functions that they are of digital DJing are. And these are quite commonly used functions as well. So if we're going to go ahead and say that a button which manipulates the tempo of a track is cheating, well then there are other functions that are very commonly used that would also be classed as cheating in my eyes, and that's what I really want to talk about. Okay, so I'm going to get my software open. This is DJ Pro. This is a bit of software I use at home for testing mixes out, and if I want to check whether certain tunes go with each other, or I just don't want to go downstairs into the dungeon and be mixing. I just want to stay in the lounge and have a mess about with some music. This is very good for that. It's also, a very good software for actually DJing on. It's not what I use out when I'm playing. I use Serato, as you can see. That's, there on the bottom of the screen. That's what I use. I'm a massive DJ controller fan. I use a Pioneer DDJ SZ. It is an absolute beast of a controller. It's huge. It's the closest you're going to get to having a pair of Nexus 2000s in a mixer for a fraction of the price. Go and check them out. Brilliant. So, what do I think of the sync button? Personally, I quite like the sync button. What the sync button does for me is it gives me the opportunity to enjoy the music I'm playing a bit more. Now, I trained on vinyl, and on vinyl, the emphasis, because there's no digital help and no sync, the emphasis on getting your beats matched is the most important thing. Before you think of everything else that you have to think about, you've got to get your beats matched. So what it allows me to do, I feel, is enjoy the music that I'm playing a bit more. When I was on vinyl, you were concentrating so much on getting those beats matched that maybe you missed out on a lot of the tune that you were playing. So because the sync button has enabled you to match the beats, one, I can enjoy the music. Two, I can be more interactive with the crowd. I have a few basic rules that I use when I'm in busy places, and I get to scan the room and pick out groups of people that will help make the rest of the dance floor go. There was a book called How to DJ Properly, and one of the tips they had there was that you pick out 2 or 3 people within a group that are the main focus of that group, and if you get them up and dancing, the rest of the group will follow. It does go into that theory a little bit more in the book, but I haven't really got the time to be going into that right now. But the sync button allows me to put that theory into practice, and if you then start putting that into 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7 different groups, before you know it, you've got a full dance floor. So it's just people engineering. It allows you to have more time to think about other things. For other DJs, it might be controllerism tactics and effects and acapellas and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so if we're going to say the sync button is cheating, okay, for me, there are other features within digital DJing that you'll find on every single CDJ, which are just as much cheating. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead with the first one. So I have a track here loaded up, and I've got it queued to a certain point to go through my example. So this little button here, see this musical note? If I press that, so it's blue, that's called key lock. Now, every CDJ has a key lock. So without key lock on, I'm just going to hit play. Right, so if I just speed this up, you can hear that the record gets faster, but also the key of the record changes. Okay? And if I slow it down, okay, the record slows down, and the key of the record changes again. And it ends up sounding more like Uncle Phil than Will Smith. Okay. So let's just set that back to its central point and click this again. Now if we click this again and press play, make it go faster, the speed of the record increases, but the key doesn't. Reduce the speed, speed decreases, key doesn't. Okay. Now for me, that function, if you're going to go ahead and say that the sync button is cheating, that's cheating, because when you mixed on vinyl, you had to make sure your records were played at either a speed that was relevant to the speed that it was made at, or at the right speed. So nothing sounded too chipmunky or too slow. You didn't have the advantage of key lock on vinyl. So that's a digital function of DJing that is just as much cheating as the sync button. Okay, so this brings me up to my next feature, which I think is also cheating. So this little button here, if you can see, I've just got this all set up so it's triggering for me nicely. If I hit this, right, this on a CDJ would be a Q button. Okay, so that Q button would, if this track was going, for instance, okay, so you'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you'd be doing that until it came to the point of the record where, you know, you were ready to drop it on phrase to get your beats matched and, you know, prepare the record for the mix. Okay, so when you were on decks though, you had to rock back and forth on the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, drop, and then it would drop in beat. Okay, so from, again, a digital perspective, this button is taking away an analog feature. Okay, so for me, that's cheating just as much as the sync button is. Okay, so the last feature I want to talk about, which I do feel again is a digital feature which you did not have on analog decks, which makes things easier for you as a DJ, is the loop function. So as you can see, I've got my loop function there set to 8 beats. So if I press play, this is going to loop on an 8 beat. Okay, now we'll let that run on that 8 beat for as long as we need it to. This function can also be used for acapellas, for sample triggering. It can be used to get your beats matched, or, you know, get your records ready to play, because you can have, you know, your record on one deck playing, okay, and then this record can just constantly be on a loop, waiting for the next record to come in. Now, before we didn't have loop functions, we had to bring the record back and start again and you know, drop it on phrase again and get the beats matched correctly. This again is another digital function which, if you're going to turn around and say that the sync button is cheating, so is this. Now, all new CDJs now come with a sync function. So if Pioneer are putting a sync function on their flagship equipment, we shouldn't really be having any argument with the sync button anymore, I don't feel. I've seen a couple of top level DJs recently discussing the sync function, Laid Back Luke was one of those people. He said on a video for Pioneer themselves, he loves the sync function because it allows him to concentrate on other things, tricks, effects, controllerism, or more scratches and stuff like that. It frees up his time to do other things other than beat matching. Because let's face it, beat matching is only one element of DJing. There are so many more elements that you have to think about when DJing other than just beat matching. Okay? Another person that he didn't really use the sync button, but he did something else, which is just the same as using the sync function, which was this was Armin Van Buuren. It was actually a DJ masterclass he was doing, and there's a very rough video of it on YouTube. And basically, what he did was he said, right, okay, so you get your tune in, you put your CD in your CD deck, and what you need to do is you need to grab your pitch slider here, and you need to move that until it's at the same tempo as the record that is already playing. Okay, so this slider is a bit sensitive, but we're just going to hit sync. Okay, and also all he did was move the pitch slider so it was at the same tempo. That is just the same as sync, and that's Armin Van Buuren telling you to do that. I don't need to say any more. If you've got two top-level DJs like Laid Back Luke and Armin Van Buuren giving their support for, syncing features, there shouldn't be any argument about syncing anymore. Now, what I will say is that basically, if you get to a stage of your digital DJing using the sync button and you feel that you are at a competent stage where you could produce a mix CD, and you would happily put that on SoundCloud, share it on YouTube, on Facebook and YouTube and all the other social media, that's brilliant. But at this stage, stop using the sync button and go back and learn how to beat match manually. It's very, very important that you go back and learn how to beat match manually. I'm not a purist, and I won't turn around to you and say that you're no sort of a DJ unless you can beat match by ear the manual old-fashioned way. I'm not going to turn around and say that because I'm not arrogant enough to say that, to be honest with you. Personally, I don't see the sync button as such a massive negative. If anything, it's helping people progress into DJing that little bit quicker. So, thank you for watching my first video. If you've enjoyed what you've watched and heard and seen, rate, subscribe, comment. Brilliant. Take care. Have a good day. We'll be speaking to you soon.